The sky was quiet at first, deceptively quiet. No sound of engines, no rumble of warships, no warning. Just a darkness so deep it made the stars look like distant candles flickering in a cold night. And then they came, shapes against the void, vast and cold, moving with a precision that made the heart tremble. They were not like any spaceship humans had ever built. They were smooth, metallic, and terrible in their silence. The first reports came from satellites. They were here. Dr. Alara Wynn stared at the main screen in the International Space Command. Her fingers trembled over the console as the images of the alien fleet filled the room. Each ship was bigger than any human battleship, each one bristling with weapons that glimmered like frozen lightning. "Why are they here?" she whispered to herself, her voice barely audible. Around her, officers muttered numbers, coordinates, plans, but no plan could stop them. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever, it seemed. Panic spread across Earth faster than any virus. Governments called emergency meetings, but there was no time to strategize. Evacuations began in major cities. People clutched their children, begging for safety that no one could guarantee. Sirens wailed in the distance, over oceans, over deserts, over every corner of the planet. Humanity was united in fear, and fear had a voice louder than any command. Yet in the quiet forests, in the rolling plains, in the deep oceans, something stirred. Wolves lifted their heads, ears twitching. Birds paused mid-flight. Fish slowed in their currents. The animals felt it first, an instinct older than humanity itself. A presence that did not belong, that carried with it the cold whisper of destruction. They did not know what it was, and they did not need to. They only knew it threatened the world they called home. Alara walked through the control room, feeling the weight of despair pressing down on her. Screens flashed with images of cities being destroyed. The alien ships seemed to glide through human defenses as if they were nothing. Entire fleets vanished in a single sweep of alien energy beams. Humanity begged for mercy. Soldiers fell in the streets. Children hid under rubble. Mothers clutched their babies and prayed to gods they had never known. The void itself seemed to answer with silence. Then, an unusual report arrived from the field. Rangers in North America reported a herd of bison running at full speed toward an abandoned town. No humans were there, only the animals moving in a single, deliberate direction. In South Africa, a pride of lions was seen running along highways cleared of humans, their eyes fixed on something unknown. In the oceans, pods of whales surged toward orbiting alien ships, leaping like living missiles, their massive bodies crashing into the enemy with impossible force. Alara stared at the communication screen, tears stinging her eyes. She could barely speak, but the words came anyway. They are fighting back. For us. The others in the room looked at her in disbelief. Humanity had no weapons that could harm the invaders. Yet the Earth's creatures were moving with intelligence, with coordination, with something that humans called courage. The alien ships moved closer, their shadows stretching across cities and oceans, turning day into a sudden darkness. Humans could only watch, powerless. The first beam hit a small coastal town. The explosion was terrifying. Dust and fire shot into the sky. But then from the forest nearby, a pack of wolves appeared on the horizon. They moved fast, not randomly, but as if they understood the threat. They attacked alien drones that had landed, tearing them apart with teeth and claws. Alara could barely breathe. Her mind raced. All her years studying animal behavior, all her life observing Earth's creatures, they were showing a unity and purpose that she had never imagined possible. The animals did not ask for glory, they did not fight for power. They fought because this planet was their home, and now it had become a battlefield. Across the planet, similar stories unfolded. Eagles dove from the skies, their talons striking sensors on alien scouts. Sharks leapt from oceans to crush small craft. Elephants, their massive forms unstoppable, charged through abandoned cities, overturning alien machines that humans could not touch. And yet through it all, humanity remained hidden, fearful, and fragile. Alara took a deep breath and addressed the room. "They are protecting us," she said. "They may not be human, but they are fighting for our survival." She paused, letting the words sink in. "We begged the void for mercy, and now, maybe, just maybe, the void is answering in a way we never expected." Outside, the night sky was alive with movement. Stars flickered under alien beams. The air was thick with smoke and fear. But among it all, life moved. The beasts of Earth, long companions of humanity, had begun a war that no human could wage, a war for the planet itself. And as Alara watched the horizon, She realized one thing: humanity was no longer alone. The world had heard their cries and it had chosen its warriors. For days, Earth held its breath. The alien fleet did not pause. They swept over cities, oceans, and forests with a quiet precision that terrified every human being. The world's armies launched everything they had, but missiles fizzled against invisible shields. Laser strikes fizzled like sparks in the night. Humanity's cries echoed into the void, but there was no answer. Only fear, only loss, and only the creeping certainty that their time was running out. Dr. Alara Wynn moved through a city now reduced to ash and rubble. The streets were empty except for the occasional figure shuffling through debris, carrying children or loved ones. Smoke hung low in the sky, turning morning into a gray gloom. She reached the emergency command center, her boots crunching over shattered glass. A voice called over the radio, tight with urgency. "Dr. Wynn, Central Command needs you immediately." Something unusual is happening. She ran, her heart pounding. As she arrived, the reports began to flood in faster than she could read them. Across the planet, humans were seeing the impossible. In Africa, lions and cheetahs moved in perfect synchronization, bypassing towns and roads, striking directly at alien ground forces. In Australia, kangaroos bounded through abandoned cities, toppling small alien machines. Even insects were organized now. Swarms of locusts attacking drones, blocking alien sensors with a living cloud of wings and legs. Alara's hands shook as she absorbed the reports. "It's coordination," she whispered. "The animals they're working together." The others in the room stared at her, disbelief in their eyes. Coordination? Intelligence? How could this be? Humans had always studied Earth's creatures as companions, as food, or as curiosities. Never had they imagined they could rise like this as defenders. And yet the evidence was overwhelming. From the skies, the forests, the deserts, and the oceans, the creatures of Earth had responded to the alien threat. In the oceans, massive whales and orcas breached the surface like living torpedoes. They smashed into alien submersibles with bone-crushing force. Dolphins swirled in synchronized patterns, confusing enemy sensors and machinery. Even sharks, normally solitary hunters, formed sudden packs, striking swiftly at alien craft hovering above the waves. Humanity could only watch, helpless but stunned by the force of nature's retaliation. On land, elephants charged like unstoppable battering rams, their massive bodies overturning alien vehicles and crushing their weapons. Wolves moved in tight packs, silent and deadly, hunting the alien foot soldiers with uncanny precision. Birds blackened the skies in flocks so dense they could obscure the sun, their talons striking at sensors and blinding optics. Humans were spectators to a war they had begged the void to fight, and Earth's creatures had answered. Dr. Alara felt a mix of awe and grief. She thought of the cities lost, the people she could not save, the cries she could not answer. And yet she could not deny the wonder of what was happening. For the first time in human history, she saw a unity that transcended species. A planet itself had chosen to fight. Her communicator crackled. "Dr. Wynn, reconnaissance reports indicate alien ships are beginning to retreat in some sectors. But the cost is high. Many animals have fallen. Many humans, too. We need your guidance to coordinate the remaining defenses." Alara nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. "We need to help them," she said quietly. "Not with weapons, they don't need ours. We need to protect the ones that are fighting for us and guide them where they are most needed." The room fell silent. It was a strange, terrifying calm, like the moment just before a storm. Humans could feel it in their bones. This was not just a fight for survival. This was a battle that would change the way they saw their world forever. The alien invaders had underestimated Earth. They had seen humans as weak, fragile creatures. They had not counted on the planet itself rising in defense through its creatures, through its oldest guardians. Night fell, and the sky glowed with the flashes of alien beams. Cities that had survived the first strikes now trembled as ships hovered above. Fires burned in distant forests, sending smoke spiraling into the atmosphere. And yet amidst all this destruction, animals moved with an unspoken purpose. Wolves slipped through ruined buildings to strike at alien machinery. Birds dropped rocks and debris with surprising accuracy. Lions and tigers roared their defiance, echoing across the plains, a challenge to the invaders that even humans could hear. Alara stood at the edge of a collapsed building, looking at a horizon filled with smoke and shadow. Tears streaked her face. "We begged the void for mercy," she whispered, "and maybe Maybe the world is answering in ways we never imagined. Somewhere deep inside her, she felt a spark of hope. Small, fragile, but real. Hope that humanity would survive, not because of their weapons or their science or their governments, but because Earth itself had chosen to fight with them. And in that moment, she understood something profound. Survival was no longer just about humans. Survival was about Earth and its creatures, who had risen when the time came. And as the first sounds of distant battle reached her ears, the roar of lions, the crashing of waves, the thunder of elephant feet, Ilara realized humanity was witnessing something extraordinary. Something ancient, something powerful. The animals were not just fighting. They were speaking a language older than humans. They were saying with every movement, every strike, every cry, "We will not let our home fall." The alien fleet descended toward the Atlantic, a wall of cold metal cutting through the clouds. Their weapons glowed like stars forged in fire, and with each pulse humanity's naval fleet trembled. For months humans had fought, begged, and prayed, but their efforts were always met with failure. Now the final stand loomed. Ships bristled with missiles, cannons, and desperate hope. But even as the captains shouted orders, everyone knew it might be too late. Dr. Ilara Wynne stood on the deck of a command vessel, looking out at the approaching armada. Smoke from distant cities filled the air, mixing with the scent of salt and fear. Her hands clenched the railing as she whispered, "If we fall, everything is lost, but we're not alone." She glanced at the ocean below, and there, slicing through the waves, came the first signs of the planet's true defense. Massive whales broke the surface, their bodies rising like living mountains. They slammed into alien submersibles, crushing them with unimaginable force. Pods of dolphins swirled around the ships, confusing sensors, creating whirlpools that ripped at the hulls. Sharks leapt out of the water in coordinated strikes, their rows of teeth tearing through alien armor. Humanity's weapons seemed weak and fragile compared to this natural fury. Yet for the first time, hope stirred. From the forests of South America, jaguars and wolves appeared on the beaches, moving in packs with a purpose humans could not comprehend. Eagles dove from the skies, striking alien sensors and blinding optics with their sharp talons. Even insects joined the fight, swarms of locusts, bees, and ants disabling smaller drones, shutting down alien machinery in ways humans had never thought possible. Ilara's communicator crackled with updates from around the world. "Dr. Wynne, reports are coming in from every continent. The animals are attacking in unison. We're seeing patterns, strategies, almost like intelligence guiding them." She swallowed hard, tears filling her eyes. They are protecting us," she whispered. "Not for glory, not for reward, but for the planet itself." On the deck below, soldiers watched in awe as the animals fought. Elephants charged alien vehicles with unstoppable force, overturning tanks and crushing robots with ease. Wolves and big cats coordinated ambushes, slipping through gaps in alien defenses and striking at the weak points humans could never reach. Birds darkened the skies, turning sunlight into shadow, striking relentlessly at anything that moved. Humanity could only watch and follow, directing the creatures where help was most needed. Scientists and soldiers worked together, guiding the natural army of Earth with careful precision, pointing them toward alien supply lines, toward ships vulnerable from below, toward cities still in danger. Humans were no longer the warriors. Earth itself was fighting through them, and humans were its allies. The first alien ships began to falter. A massive whale breached, slamming into a destroyer that had seemed invincible just moments ago. It cracked, splintered, and sank beneath the waves, sending sparks and fire into the sky. On land, elephants and lions continued their relentless push, tearing through alien machinery like it was made of paper. Wolves darted through crumbling streets, striking quickly and vanishing before the aliens could respond. Birds and bats attacked in swarms, disabling sensors, tearing wiring, creating chaos in the enemy ranks. Ilara felt a surge of hope, but also a deep, aching sorrow. Many animals had fallen. Many humans, too. She saw a young dolphin caught in a beam, a wolf dragged down by alien machines, an elephant collapsed on the rubble of a city. Their sacrifice was immense, yet without them, humanity would already be gone. She whispered a silent prayer for each life lost. The tide of battle began to shift. The aliens, trained to destroy, had not prepared for this. They had underestimated the planet itself. Their ships faltered, shields flickered, and panic spread through their ranks. The void had once been indifferent, but now it seemed to recoil at the defiance of life itself. Ilara took a deep breath, her eyes scanning the battlefield. She thought of the children hiding in bunkers, the mothers clutching their babies, the cities still standing against impossible odds. "This is our chance," she said quietly to the officers around her. "We survive because they are fighting for us, and we must survive for them." Across the planet, humans began to realize something profound. Weapons and technology could not protect them. Only unity, courage, and the power of a living world could turn the impossible into victory. And in the chaos, humans finally understood that survival was not about domination. It was about respect for the planet, for its creatures, for the bonds that connected all life. The battle raged into night. Flashes of light streaked across oceans and forests, the sounds of animal cries mixed with explosions and alien shrieks. Yet amidst the chaos there was a rhythm, a harmony, a sign that the planet itself was alive, and it had chosen to fight. Ilara stood at the edge of the command deck, staring at the horizon where whales leapt. Wolves ran and birds dived with unbroken precision. She whispered, "We begged the void for mercy, and now Earth has answered." And somewhere deep inside she knew that no matter what happened next, humanity would never forget this night. The night when the animals of Earth rose in defense of life itself. When hope burned brighter than fear, and when the planet proved that even in the darkest hour, it could fight back. The sky was a battlefield. Alien ships hovered over oceans and forests, their metal bodies reflecting flashes of fire from distant cities. Humanity's weapons had failed, but the world itself was rising. The beasts of Earth had united in a force humanity had never dreamed possible. And now, the tide of war was shifting. Dr. Ilara Wynne stood on a hill overlooking the plains. She could see elephants charging across abandoned towns, their massive feet shaking the earth. Lions and wolves ran in perfect formation, moving through streets, across bridges, and into enemy lines with terrifying precision. Birds blotted out the sun as they dove from the skies, talons striking sensors and instruments. Even insects moved in coordinated swarms, disabling alien drones with relentless efficiency. "Look at them," Ilara whispered, her voice filled with awe. "They are not just animals. They are warriors." The aliens were taken by surprise. They had expected humans to be weak, disorganized, and easily defeated. They had not counted on the planet itself defending its children. Ships faltered as pods of whales crashed into their hulls. Waves churned and twisted under the power of dolphins and sharks attacking in unison. The alien formation wavered for the first time, a ripple of confusion spreading through their ranks. On land, the battle was even more remarkable. Elephants overturned armored vehicles as if they were toys. Wolves and big cats hunted with intelligence, avoiding danger and striking precisely. Birds dropped stones and debris onto alien machines, sometimes knocking them out completely. Every move was calculated, almost as if the planet itself had taught them strategy in an instant. Ilara coordinated what humans could still contribute. Using whatever sensors, radios, and drones remained intact, she guided the animals toward key alien positions. Humans could not fight directly, but they could guide the living army of Earth to where it was most needed. And together, humans and animals formed a symphony of survival. Explosions shook the Earth. Alien ships faltered and collided with each other in panic. Machines toppled, sparks flew, and fires spread across forests and rivers. But the animals kept moving forward. Lions roared in defiance, wolves howled as they leapt on machinery. Elephants trumpeted as they pushed through obstacles. Every strike carried power, intelligence, and fury. Humanity had begged the void for mercy, and Earth itself had answered with overwhelming force. Even the ocean became a battlefield of living strength. Whales surged in coordinated attacks, smashing alien submersibles and scattering fleets. Dolphins weaved through beams of light, confusing sensors and creating chaos. Sharks struck swiftly, tearing through alien craft, while schools of smaller fish obscured laser targeting systems. Humanity watched in disbelief, hearts pounding as the creatures fought like they had never fought before. Ilara felt tears streaking her face. She thought of the humans lost, of the cities destroyed, and of the animals fighting with unmatched courage. "They are giving everything," she whispered. "For us, for this world, for life itself." She clenched her fists. Humanity had always believed it was the master of Earth. Now they knew the truth. Survival was not about power. It was about partnership with every creature, with every river, with every tree and stone. The aliens began to retreat in scattered formations. Their perfect precision had collapsed under the sheer force of nature's response. Ships dropped from the sky, destroyed or damaged beyond repair. Ground forces were overwhelmed by a relentless wave of living defenders. For the first time, humans dared to hope. The invaders were losing. The planet was winning. Even as the animals pushed forward, the cost was clear. Fallen lions, wolves, and elephants lay among the rubble. Whales and dolphins sank after collisions with alien machinery. The battle was not without sacrifice. Humanity had survived only because Earth had fought with every fiber of its being, giving and losing in ways humans had never imagined. Alara walked among the survivors, both human and animal. She knelt beside a wounded wolf, stroking its fur and whispering, "Thank you. Thank you for saving us." The wolf's amber eyes met hers, calm and knowing. She felt the weight of the world in that gaze. This victory was not hers, not humanity's alone. It belonged to Earth, to its creatures, to life itself. From the command center, reports poured in. Cities once thought lost were still standing, protected by the relentless bravery of animals. Alien forces were retreating, disappearing into the void from which they had come. Humanity had survived, but it was a survival shaped by something greater than themselves. The planet had spoken through its children. It had shown humanity that life itself could fight, could resist, and could protect its own. Humans had begged the void for mercy, but it had been Earth that answered, not with technology, not with fire, but with the raw, intelligent, living power of its creatures. Alara looked out over the battlefield as the sun began to rise, painting the skies in gold and crimson. Birds soared above, lions roamed the plains, elephants marched through ruins, and dolphins leaped through the glimmering waters. Humans were still here, trembling, battered, and small, but they were alive. And for the first time, Dr. Wynne understood something she had never known before. Humanity's strength was not measured by its weapons, by its cities, or by its pride. It was measured by its connection to the world around it, by the bond with the creatures that had fought and died to protect it. The tide had turned. Earth had risen, unbroken, unyielding, and beautiful in its fury. And humanity would never forget the night when the world itself became their shield, their army, and their salvation. The battle was over, but silence was heavier than any explosion. The alien fleet had retreated, vanishing into the void from which it came. But the cost of survival was written across the land, the seas, and the skies. Cities lay in ruins, smoke still rising from broken buildings. Oceans were scattered with debris from ships and alien machinery. And everywhere the bodies of animals, fallen warriors of Earth, marked the price humanity had paid for mercy. Dr. Alara Wynne walked through a devastated city, her boots crunching over glass and ash. She had seen the impossible happen, whales breaching to crush alien submersibles, lions and wolves striking with lethal precision, eagles swooping down to blind sensors. But even as victory had come, grief followed closely behind. A young wolf lay motionless, its fur matted with blood and dust. Alara knelt beside it, her fingers trembling as she touched its flank. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "You gave everything. For us." The wolf's amber eyes, now dim, seemed to hold a quiet dignity that made her chest ache. Across the plains, elephants that had charged fearlessly through alien lines now rested in eternal stillness. Lions, tigers, and other great predators lay among the ruins, their bodies twisted but heroic. In the oceans, dolphins floated near the surface, some wounded, some lost forever. Their songs quiet where once there had been a chorus of life and defiance. Humanity had survived, yes, but the animals had paid a heavy price. Ilara's communicator crackled with updates. "Dr. Wynne, casualties among wildlife are unprecedented. Entire packs, herds, and pods are gone." She nodded, tears running down her face. "We have to honor them," she whispered, voice breaking. "We survived because they fought, and many did not come back." Humans emerged from shelters, warships, and bunkers. They walked among the ruins with stunned eyes, seeing for the first time the depth of the sacrifice that had protected them. Mothers clutched children close, whispering thanks to a world that had given everything to keep them alive. Soldiers saluted lions, wolves, and elephants alike. Humanity's pride had been replaced by humility. They had begged the void for mercy, but it had been answered by creatures they had once underestimated. creatures they had once thought beneath them. Alara made her way to a small park in the city, where the first signs of human rebuilding were already appearing. A young girl knelt beside a fallen eagle, her small hands brushing its feathers. "Thank you," she said softly. "You saved us." The words were simple, yet they carried the weight of an entire species. Alara watched, tears filling her eyes. Humanity had survived, not because of weapons, not because of science, but because Earth itself had risen in defense of its own children. Even in the midst of grief, there was wonder. The animals that survived moved cautiously among humans, sensing their shared pain and relief. Wolves, once distant and wild, now lingered near groups of people. Dolphins and whales swam closer to remaining ships, their intelligence unmistakable. Birds circled above, their cries a mix of triumph and sorrow. Humanity had learned something new. Respect for life was not a choice, but a necessity. Alara looked up at the sky, where the first light of dawn was breaking through lingering clouds of smoke. She could see birds flying in scattered formations, carrying the memory of the night's battle. "We begged the void," she whispered, "and it was answered in a way we never expected. Not with mercy, but with courage, strength, and sacrifice." Across the world, monuments would one day rise, not to human generals, nor presidents, nor machines of war. They would rise for the creatures who had saved Earth, who had turned the tide of an impossible battle, who had taught humanity the true meaning of courage. Lions, wolves, whales, elephants, and countless others. These were the heroes now. Their names, if humans could give them names, would be spoken with reverence for generations. Alara knelt again among the fallen, whispering prayers for each life lost. She felt the weight of gratitude, sorrow, and awe pressing on her heart. Humanity had survived, yes, but they owed their lives to creatures that had no voice, no weapons, no technology, only instinct, loyalty, and the fierce will to protect their home. And in that silence, in that grief, a lesson settled into the hearts of every human watching. Survival was not about dominance. It was about connection. It was about understanding that the strength of a species could never exceed the strength of the world that nurtured it. Alara rose, wiping her tears. She looked toward the horizon, where the survivors, human and animal, began moving forward together. Cities would be rebuilt, oceans would heal, forests would regrow, and humanity would carry forward a new understanding of the planet they called home. But the memory of the price paid, of the courage shown, would remain forever. The void had heard humanity's cries, but it was Earth, its creatures, and the bond between them that had delivered mercy. And in that truth, Dr. Wynne felt a warmth she had never known before, the knowledge that even in the darkest hours, life itself could rise to defend what mattered most. The war was over, but the world had changed forever. Humanity had survived not by its weapons, not by its science, but by the courage and sacrifice of Earth's creatures. Cities were being rebuilt slowly, forests regrowing, and oceans clearing of debris. But more than that, humanity was learning a lesson that no war had ever taught them, that survival was not about domination, but about respect and connection. Dr. Alara Wynne walked through a recovering city, her boots crunching over rubble. Children played cautiously in the streets now, but their laughter was different. It was lighter, filled with awe, filled with the knowledge that life itself had fought for them. Birds circled overhead, diving and calling in patterns that seemed almost like messages of reassurance. Wolves prowled the outskirts, keeping a careful watch, yet showing no signs of aggression. The great creatures of Earth had survived, and in surviving they had become guardians of a world humanity had once taken for granted. Alara paused by a small fountain in the center of the city. A lion padded silently nearby, its amber eyes calm and watchful. She knelt and placed her hand on its mane, feeling the warmth of life beneath her fingers. "We owe you everything," she whispered. The lion's gaze held her for a long moment, full of understanding, and then it moved on, disappearing into the shadows of the city. She realized that humanity had never truly known what it meant to share a planet with other creatures. They had been the masters of Earth in name only. Now, for the first time, they understood the truth. They were part of a living world, not separate from it. In oceans, dolphins and whales played near the recovering ships. Their sleek bodies aired under the sunlight, leaping and spinning in a display of life's resilience. Humans who had survived the attacks watched from the decks of ships, clapping and cheering, but also bowing their heads in gratitude. These creatures had fought and died to protect them, and now they were alive, reminding humanity of the debt they carried. Forests were alive with motion. Wolves ran in small packs, teaching their young the skills that had once saved humanity. Birds nested in the trees, their songs weaving through the air like a living memory of the battle. Even elephants roamed the plains, moving through the ruins with gentle strength, their presence a reminder of the unstoppable force of nature. Humanity had learned to see these creatures differently now. They were not merely animals, they were allies, guardians, and teachers of a truth that humans had almost forgotten. Alara returned to the command center, now a hub for rebuilding and observation rather than war. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers worked alongside ecologists and animal specialists to understand what had happened, to learn how Earth's creatures had coordinated their defense. Every observation led to wonder. How had whales known where to strike? How had wolves moved in perfect formation? How had birds and insects disabled alien machines with instinct alone? Humanity realized that the Earth itself had fought, not just individual creatures but the planet, through the intelligence and courage of its children. The human leaders held meetings with ecologists and animal behaviorists. Policies began to change. Cities were rebuilt with respect for animal habitats. Oceans were protected, forests preserved, and humans committed to working with the creatures of Earth instead of against them. The war had taught them a simple truth. Humanity's survival depended not on dominating the planet, but on protecting it. Alara often walked the plains outside the city, watching the animals that had fought and survived. Wolves played with each other, elephants moved with dignity, birds soared above, and dolphins leapt along the coast. She felt an unspoken connection with every living creature around her. They had saved humanity once, and she understood now that they were the truest teachers of courage, loyalty, and the strength of life itself. Children learned the stories of the battle, the night when the void threatened to destroy humanity, and the world rose to fight back. They spoke of whales that crushed alien ships, lions that led attacks, wolves that coordinated strikes, and birds that blinded sensors. These stories became lessons, teaching respect for life, courage in the face of fear, and the understanding that humans were not alone on their planet. Alara stood on a hill one evening, looking at a sunset that painted the skies in gold and crimson. A wolf ran across the plains below, a lone eagle soared above, and in the distance dolphins leapt from the ocean. Humanity was alive, cities were slowly rebuilding, and the planet was healing. Yet the memory of the battle remained, a quiet reminder that life was precious, interconnected, and strong beyond measure. She whispered to herself, "We begged the void," and it answered, not with mercy, but with the courage of those who share this world with us. They saved us, they taught us, and we will never forget. In that quiet moment, Alara realized the future had changed. Humans would no longer take life for granted. They would work alongside the creatures of Earth, protect the oceans, forests, and skies, and remember that survival was never a solitary effort. It was a bond, a promise, a partnership with every living thing on the planet. The night fell, stars appearing above, and the world seemed at peace. Yet that peace was earned, a fragile balance sustained by respect, gratitude, and understanding. Humanity had survived the void, but they had also discovered something far greater: the strength of unity, the courage of life, and the infinite power of Earth itself. Years had passed since the night the void threatened humanity. The scars of battle were still visible, cities rebuilt, forests slowly regrown, oceans clearing of debris. But the memory of what had happened remained vivid in every heart. Humanity had survived, not because of weapons or technology, but because the creatures of Earth had risen to defend it, and that lesson had changed the world forever. Dr. Alara Wynne walked along a quiet forest path. The air smelled of pine, earth, and life itself. Birds sang above her, their songs echoing across the trees like a living memory of the past. Wolves padded silently through the underbrush, their amber eyes alert but calm. A distant roar of a lion reached her ears from the plains beyond. Each sound was a reminder. Life had fought for life, and the planet had answered humanity's desperate cries. Alara knelt by a small pond, watching a pair of otters playing in the water. Dolphins leapt in the distance, celebrating their survival as much as hers. She smiled, tears filling her eyes. Humans had begged the void for mercy, and it had been answered in a way they had never imagined. Not with fire or weapons, not with advanced machines, but with courage, sacrifice, and the living power of Earth itself. Children ran through the meadows nearby, laughing and playing alongside animals that had once fought in the war. Wolves watched carefully, maintaining distance but allowing the young humans to approach. Birds swooped overhead, their wings casting fleeting shadows on the ground. Humanity had learned respect. They had learned humility. They had learned that survival was not about domination. It was about partnership. Alara thought back to the battles she had witnessed. Whales smashing alien submersibles, elephants overturning machines, lions and wolves striking with perfect coordination, birds blinding sensors with relentless precision. Every memory was sharp, vivid, and filled with awe. Humanity had survived not alone, but through the courage of life itself. And now she understood the true meaning of gratitude. Around the world, monuments had been erected, not to generals, not to politicians, not to machines, but to the creatures who had saved humanity. Statues of lions, wolves, whales, and elephants stood proudly in parks, cities, and coasts. Plaques told their stories, detailing their bravery, their sacrifice, and the night Earth itself rose in defense of its children. Humanity's history books had been rewritten to include the heroes they had almost overlooked. The living, breathing guardians of their home. Alara often visited these monuments, placing flowers or simply sitting in silence. She watched humans walk by, sometimes touching the statues, sometimes bowing their heads in respect. She smiled at the understanding growing in the hearts of the young generation. They would never forget the lessons learned. They would never forget the night the animals of Earth proved that courage, unity, and instinct could defy even the void. Even governments and scientists had changed. Policies were rewritten to protect habitats, oceans, forests, and skies. Cities were built with care for animals. Oceans were safeguarded and forests became sacred spaces. Humanity had learned that life itself was stronger than any machine, and the bond between species was now the foundation of survival. One evening, Alara climbed a hill overlooking a wide valley. Wolves ran across the plains below, their movements coordinated but free. Birds circled in the sky, creating a living tapestry of motion and sound. In the distance, dolphins leapt along the river, and elephants walked with dignity through the open fields. Humans walked among them, no longer masters but companions, learning from those who had once saved them. She knelt and whispered, "We begged the void." And you answered, "Not with mercy but with courage, with life, with your strength. You fought for us and you taught us how to survive." A wolf padded close, laying its head against her hand. She felt its warmth, its trust, and a deep understanding that humans had finally recognized the world they shared. The sun set in the distance, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. The wind carried the songs of birds, the whispers of the trees, and the distant roar of life across the plains. Humanity stood together with the planet not as rulers but as part of it. They had survived the void, yes, but more importantly, they had learned what it meant to be truly alive, connected, and grateful. Alara rose, looking at the horizon with hope. The world was alive, beautiful, and protected, not just by humans but by the creatures who had fought and survived alongside them. Humanity had learned a lesson older than any weapon, wiser than any science, that courage, unity, and respect for life were stronger than fear, stronger than death, stronger than even the void itself. And somewhere in the forests, oceans, and skies, the creatures of Earth watched over the world they had saved. They were no longer just animals. They were heroes, guardians, teachers, and humanity would never forget them. The night fell, quiet and peaceful, with stars glittering above. Alara smiled, knowing that the world would endure, that the lessons of courage and respect would live on, and that the bond between humans and the living planet would forever shape the future. Earth had answered the void. Humanity had survived, and together life would never be broken again.